Toma 6B. And here we go with the second video of assumptions. It says, you have 2,000 videos in your channel because you want to show off. Well, actually, I have them to help other players and to help my students and anyone who is interested. Sometimes in Spanish guitar, they consult the channel because they want to know about, strings, nails, how to send the nails, many things, all aspects that we cover here on the Paco de Lucia style in this channel. But I don't play really in any video, so I cannot say that this is really to show off. And then it says here, you are a bit arrogant and that helped you when you were young because you were never insecure with the guitar playing. Well, that's not very true because I actually, when I was young, I was pretty insecure. From one side there were the flamenco people, all the flamenco fellows telling me to not play classical guitar because let's say I may lose the duende or the feeling for flamenco. And then on the other side, my father forced me to study properly. So I didn't have anything about to feel arrogant about, but one thing it is that I tried to do things properly, and then when I did them properly, then I believed I did them. That's why I also ask my students to record their homeworks, because if every week or every 2 weeks they do on the status of how they are playing technique, everything, then you have proof of how you do. Right? Then there is no question of arrogance. You say metronome at such a speed and this and that, right? And then that's how. But when one is young, then maybe confused, right, about different things, and therefore it is not very easy to choose also the style you will play if you will be a professional musician, as it was in my case. My father was a classic guitar player and my mother was a flamenco dancer. Therefore, I had both opportunities, let's say. When you went to the music school, you loved it all, and you were the typical nerd. Well, yeah, I hated it actually to go to the school, but not the nerd at all. My father, as I told you, he said, well, you need to get some respectability, and unless you study the career of classic guitar properly, my teacher was Maestro Manuel López Ramos, who was great in pedagogic books about technique and coordination, what a great personality he was. And then, of course, any classical foundation, provided you know is classical, it serves you a lot. It's not that it doesn't serve you. The problem is when we misinterpret flamenco as classical, you see, as if it were classical music. And then it's not, because here you can play phrases different or alter the order of the parts, these kind of things. I didn't like much the school, really, because, they tell you many things which you will not need. In my method, I cut out everything which is not necessary or superfluous or stuff that you will never use. Like I had some students here, guitar players, learning in the Conservatory of Malaga to read in claves, like clave of C, clave of who knows what horns or stuff will be written on those keys. Not only G clave and F clave, like for piano, what we all know these two, but the other ones, And then he was doing a big deal out of this study. So I said, wow, because what is the use of? Will you compose for orchestra? I asked, because if you will be a composer for guitar and orchestra, or classical composer, then he needs to know that, right? But for us, imagine how we couldn't care less about learning these claves, because we actually do not even demand that people learns music before coming to the lessons. And any student, anyone who can play, grab the guitar in the hand, can come. There is no obstacles with this. There is one anecdote, because to Paco I asked him that, well, what do you recommend better to use for the students, either traditional notation or tabs? I asked this, and remember, Paco said, Why do you need to write down anything? I said, okay, see, here we go. Because Paco was not a normal person, right? And then he memorized everything. So of course people will want to have a written thing. Otherwise we'll forget it. We are not you, right? So then he said, well, then what is the difference? Because he also did not know that much. Because he never read a tab, either a tab or a score of music. And then I explained him the difference, and then he said, well, tab is much better then. And it's true. In fact, at the beginning, it was, a new thing to say, I read or read or write tabs. In the sophisticated classical guitar circuits, where I was close to that thing also, because when I was a teacher in the Royal Conservatoire in Canada for some years. And then there, there is the classic people, etc. The thing is confusing one style for another. Flamenco is flamenco, and classical is classical. If you have a classical formation, then you will be also benefited like that. But it's difficult how to decide sometimes things, and then you need to have determination also. Because if you don't have determination, then it may happen that you don't make it. And for me, it was a lot of a struggle, but not easy. Yeah. So here it says, you feel superior to others because you you started playing when you were a child, and that gives you an advantageous position. Well, not at all, because this thing of child's playing, forget it. My best students are people in their 50s. So you see, people who play for fun, or I don't know if 35 or 40, but not children. I seen only one child playing well, and of course it was Tony Ray. He started also in childhood, etc., but suffered a lot still as a child playing. So students, and then Max Vilacek from Canada was also a student. He now plays blues and electric guitar, etc. But the thing is, the advantageous position, you don't get it by starting in childhood, but by doing things right. Because we have a mind of Teflon, right? That nothing sticks there. I mean, like Paco used to say, then that is a problem, and to be younger will not spare you from the consequences of that, or have a clear map how you evolve as a guitar player. That also is necessary to have. And therefore, I did not feel superior because I started playing when I was a child. If at any time I feel I could do the job, and then a recording, or like when I was 18, I was called by Massimo Colombo in Italy. They brought me to the Linea de Confine album. He wanted to record the Buleria he composed called El Colibri. It's a great track, but now I tried to buy it, even it's difficult to get it. Besides the fact that anymore does not exist, these CD things. Forgive the dinosaurs era I have in my mind, but the thing is that when I was there, I have to go well prepared, right? Not that I feel superior or anything, but some jobs you do properly because you believe you can make it, because you were prepared, right? That is not because I started playing when I was a child. Playing as a child, you can also learn wrong things as a child. And also there is another problem, because I did play in childhood. And sometimes people in the family or in some reunions that they said, let the child play on that. So then I played, and my father one day they clap a lot, like wow, like this, and then my father said, well, you will suffer when you are older, because now when you are 8, everybody claps and that, and cheers for your playing. But what will you do when you are 30? Now they are not impressed because of shackles. So it has disadvantages there. Probably some people who were virtuosos as a child will later on feel actually insecure, not superior to others, but actually less, having some lack of objectivity on the thing, feeling less than others because of being praised as a child. So thanks God it did not happen to me. And then I neither feel superior nor do I hold that playing in childhood, unless you do it very well, matters. Because John Coltrane was best saxophone player of the history, right? And he started playing at 30. Chick Corea also, he said that he played from childhood, but he said, I really took the real decision, I took it when I was 20 or something like that. So we have the example of people like this, There are others like Mozart or Paco or other people who also play in childhood. Yeah, but it doesn't really tell you anything. So another thing is you are obsessed with the strings. That one you got it right. Just now, I did the craziest experiment because the first string in flamenco we need thicker strings, and now that there are derivations from or alternatives of nylon, even if I would call alternatives the alternative string the nylon string itself, because I would use it only if I don't have any other alternative. Because now, I, as a homage to Paco, we developed a string with Mimo Perrufo in Italy, the owner of Aquila. And then these strings are made out of sugar now. So then, therefore, because it's not nylon anymore, that then we have to go through the proper thickness for each tone and then try it in many different guitars, etc. So the thing is that in the past, Paco taught me that to never put one set straight of strings. So he was using one string. He had the belief that every brand has one string, which is the best string of that brand, and then he combines them actually and throw the rest. Because before there was not single string, buying single strings online like now. There are so many advantages of this. But yeah, it was to learn about that, because it's not the same summer than winter. So, anyone who, Paco said it, anyone who tells you this string is okay and that, this is a tourist advice for tourists. It's not a serious thing. Because first of all, to say which string a guitar needs, you need to have the guitar in your hand and try it. And then every guitar is different, will need. Some guitars, maybe you want to bring them to have a bit more tension or have less tension, or different details. And then you cannot generalize like that or by email. I have this guitar, what string I should use? Unless we have it here, just by the brand, we will not know. Or, of course, many guitars which I do see of my students or that work before here in the school, or some promotional items from AG. I know the guitar. For instance, this guitar is also of one of my students. So therefore now, about this guitar, I can say exactly which strings are needed. Well, this happened years and years, and then we developed this set with the idea of having the Aquila sugar string to have all equal tension. Because if you notice yourself, you place index on the second string and middle on the first, and then just pull them, you will feel immediately that there is a lack of balance because the first string is too tight. So this Paco didn't like it. To make the story short, he started using extra high, ultra extra high tension on the second and middle tension on the first to compensate, but still was not happy like this. So, and now we create this set, but still, as it didn't depend on me, and Mimo did not have time to perfect it. The first string is still not good on the Aquila set, but from the sixth to the second, you can use all straight. Finally, at least we need just the first string from Dogal or anything. But now I discovered even further there, because we generally get 5 strings from the Aquila set and then the first from Dogal on high tension, probably, or extra high tension. Because another thing is that if I have a fretboard which is not a traditional fretboard, and now the equation of which tension the strings should be is totally different. So we designed those strings for guitars again not with alternative fretboards. Although I will not call alternative again, I will call alternative the ebony one, because I will use it only if there is nothing else to do to be played. But really speaking, these guitars needed a string special to be developed for them, for maple fretboard. Therefore here we can use extra high tension strings and still feel the guitar as if it was mid tension. You see, so that's why Paco said that anyone telling you without the guitar in the hand, anyone telling you which string to use is lying. Yeah, it's or an advertisement or just to cover up that they don't know really, or just because someone said, but that is not objective. So then therefore, to be a flamenco player in the line of to answering to if I am obsessed with the strings or not, now I eliminate the first string totally, and then replace it for a second of extra low tension. I will post in the first comment or something the link of the string I choose, and then because using a second string of extra low tension to replace the first gives the proper thickness, and then also it may be very well balanced. After all, the first string could be used in those terms for recordings and for any purpose as an ideal string for the nylon string guitar, for our recordings at least. So I did this extreme thing based on Paco said just doesn't matter what you have to change it to get something done properly, just do it. He did, because he invented the negra guitar, etc. But to be a player in this line, you have to be obsessed with the strings. Okay, so next one says, during childhood nobody criticized when you have a little social issue because of having longer nails at the right hand in the school. Well, my mother brought me to a psychologist. At some point we were supposed to be in a psychologist. When I was a child, maybe it was 10 or 8, and the psychologist thought I was homosexual because of having longer nails. So it was not that there was not any social issue with this thing in the school. And now I don't know how it is, really, because I am totally out of the new generation people. But if someone advises, it is important that if your child plays guitar and then you're sending him to the school, then you need to know someone may bully because of having longer nails or anything. This is also very common. At least it was in my time. Maybe now people behave better. Okay, so you never had to play on a cheap guitar in your whole life. Instead, you may have so many guitars. Well, I have very few of them. Again, actually, all this thing because of my access to the owners and to the appointment that Paco sent me to AG to give feedback about what would be his opinion about the different things in the developments. So I had the honor to accept this commitment that he appointed me there to do, and then therefore that's why I am in close contact with great guitars. But I have just very few of them, and it's not true that I never played a bad guitar. I did play all the mistakes I did, which I point out about buying bad expensive guitars, because actually there are only 4 categories there. There's expensive bad and inexpensive bad, and expensive good and inexpensive good, and these 4 things are there, and millions of colors in between. But when you watch the channel a bit, you will see sometimes I said this, don't do this mistake. I did them all times 3. So because that's why now I'm trying to save you time and trouble. If I said don't buy a guitar for the brand or for this, or check the measurements on that, because I did the same mistakes, right? So I did, and in the beginning I remember, it was my grandmother who was the first one who brought me a guitar. It was not a good guitar, and it was a Conde Manos first class or something. When I was 15, that happened, and because in ignorance of what it is an instrument, everybody that time there, everybody wanted to have a guitar like Paco then, without knowing that actually he hated it and did not really appreciate that guitar, and that's why he has 33 guitars. I will also post in the description the link with the interview from El País about that. In the first link you will see all these relevant links because I like to quote facts. I will post them there and pin that comment there for you to see. But mistakes, and the first guitar, because that was a bad guitar and very expensive. So I never had to play a bad quality guitar. Of course, I had to play it. And before that, my mother gave me some guitar which was just a Valencia guitar, something Valencia. It was not terrace for a whole bit. That was a fancy thing then, 100 years ago. My grandfather had one of those, and he left it, the guitar, I think, standing there against the wall. And then he said that I broke it because I passed it with a dog running or something. So, you know, because before these stands were not there, 40 years ago, I mean. But my father had one of those. Not that, I had a really, it was a bad guitar, the very first one. Then for a while, maybe 6 months lasted that period. Then I tried to get other guitars. And then I was provided, my mother gave me one, and then my grandmother gave me another, like this. And I had on everything, but until, you know, actually really speaking, 5 years ago, I understood what was my instrument, about this simplicity, the D-shape port that you see here. Because before, when I was young, I played, you know, for 40 years, 35 years I have played traditional guitars and maple fretboards and this and that, and Cypress and non-Cypress and Negra, and of every builder in Spain, etc. But 5 years ago, Until AG had the great idea to start again making the guitars that in 1929, Simplicio, who was Stradivarius of Spain, had the idea to do a net, and nobody did in Spain except for AG these guitars again. When this came 5 years ago, and the maple fretboards, then I just changed totally to that forever. I cannot come back to the Ebony fretboard. So, and I have very few guitars. The guitars I used for playing only myself, and compared to these fellows, I was surrounded with these collector people and these guys that have money to have many. I don't have many because I'm a middle class man, but I use them and I appreciate guitars a lot. That's why I don't sell them. That's another. This is here. This that you sell guitars. I don't sell guitars. I actually get in love with. I buy guitars all the time, and this is sometimes a problem because I'm not rich, right? So, and I don't sell guitars because it will be just terrible, a terrible selling guy, because I get very attached to them. You know, if I like the guitar, then I never want to sell it. I get in love immediately with it, and then merchant should be detached from his product in order to have success. So imagine me, that's not possible. Only thing, because I know everyone. I know everyone in the market, and I'm here in the very center of the guitar thing in Spain, etc. And everybody tells me everything. I know it because I'm old, and there is a saying that the devil knows more because of being old than because of being the devil himself. So it's true. It's true there, because I have a lot of experience. But actually, I found my real instrument 5 years ago. So crazy thing. I don't know why, but it happened that way, because all the time, as far as, you know, Paco had this idea, as far as we were trying with maple fretboards and this before, we have never experienced any different thing, any release of the left hand actually, as we do now, because this is most comfortable experience that the guitar can give you ever for the left hand of a player, this AG concept, any guitar. And for instance, this rounded reduced fretboard one, even more, it's more ergonomic. So everything is based on ergonomic design and that, and therefore I am a loyal customer of AG, but I am a buyer, not a seller. That you work in AG? No, I don't work in AG in the Lucian guitars. I actually, well, you could say I work, but not paid. And I am saying, if it was not true, I will not say it here in a public video. I never receive any money to say any guitar is good at all. I never did this thing. All my sincere comments there, or the reviews I do, are according to my own understanding, to help friends or people that want to know, but I was never paid as an advocate to do that. And in the other video, I clear all that this, of course, it is not mine. I wish it was, but this is, you need to have a lot of money to be owning that. And then, well, I'm just an admirer, of guitars and a buyer. Of course, I am a buyer, but I do not work in AG. Paco one day, what happened is that he didn't know what to do. When they were asking about what to do with this, what to do with that, then he called me and said, "Can you do me a favor, please? I want you to go there and be the trusted advisor on the thing, and then control the quality and do everything what I would say there that they asked you instead." And then, of course, I said, "Well, this is a great honor," and I keep doing it for now 20 years almost that this company has, or 20 actually, because this is the 20th anniversary. And then, but not for work. I did it because of a commitment with Paco, and because he never asked me anything, and he asked me this favor, and I am very willing to do it. And because he also noticed that I like guitars, and knowing about guitars, this is apart from playing. Some people actually that play well does not know anything about the instrument. Paco said this thing that if you want to find an ignorant about guitars, just go to a professional player, because there are many particular things. It's not easy to know about guitars. It takes many years, and it depends also on how you play, because you cannot know if something is playable until you can really play it well. You see, one has an idea. Of course, people say, "I try guitar," or this or that, but this is just an idea, mental idea to make happy their mind, right? With the thing. But really speaking, to know what it has to have a good guitar, and then you need to know more than me to know that. You see.